Mike Harris from Covington. You talk about removing duplication. You talk about it a great deal, in fact, in your document. Yet the Cheshire split has duplicated most services between Cheshire West and Cheshire East. What steps are you taking to achieve savings and economies of scale by sharing services, especially the small services requiring specialist staff, between the two new authorities?
This is a question for Councillor Les Falk.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the question. Yes, as part of the transition to new councils, not all services were split east and west. In fact, I think we had 34 which we have jointly shared with these. One or two of those have been temporary in the education field while the new year starts and getting ourselves lined up with the school year. But we've still got many of those in place, particularly things like archives and things, which are relatively small specialist services. But in fact, we've been actually rather bolder than that. All our back office services, which is particularly HR and finance, the pay and rations, if you like, of our staff, are shared, are jointly, and it's run from west for east as well. And we're intending to expand that if at all possible, because that has certainly saved us several £1 million already. And this is a major issue. I thought, in fact, when I took over, that in fact Northampton and Cambridgeshire had already done this, but it turned out when I went to investigate, no, they hadn't. In fact, we are, I think, probably the only two councils where we actually run a joint back office service for pay and rations, basically. And I think that's gone very well indeed, and we've ironed out a few problems with East because there are sensitivities here. I think you've got to realise that the council like East that's not actually running it feels perhaps rather exposed, because this is quite a very fundamentally important point. Their staff get paid this way, their employment gets sorted out this way. So, but we've dealt with those, I think, very well. I think we're going on the way, and I'll give it another 12 months, and then we'll start looking to see whether we can't expand this, doing that, and even provide perhaps provision for other local authorities, or even the local police and PCT, for example. The back office services are something where in fact it's a very routine and clearly stated method of dealing with it, and we should be able to make money out of it, and we're going to try and deal with that. And the other major area where we're still jointly working is much of ICT, because basically we inherited a common ICT system, and there's no point in splitting it up, and we might as well develop it sensibly together, so we're doing that. Many of the others, as you rightly say, are small specialist businesses like archaeology and things, and we will deal with those on a pragmatic basis. Where it remains sensible for it to be done together, we will continue this, and I fully expect that out of the 34, 11 will continue for very long term. There may be one or two that do so for a period and then disappear, but that's practical dismanagement issues.
Councillor Shaw?
Yes, just to reassure you to some extent, our minds are on this, and our record of archives is actually shared between East and West, also includes Warrens and Holton, so that we are working over effectively the whole of the old Cheshire.
Okay, Councillor Downing?
And in removing duplication, we shouldn't just be talking about Cheshire East and Cheshire West. In adult social care, for instance, you'll notice we're adult social care and health. So we are looking to integrate services with health where that is sensible and to remove duplication in those areas. So there's a lot to be learned about working in partnership and removing duplication.
Okay, leave the council. I mean, I don't know whether my friend has this in mind, but obviously one of the options was one Cheshire without having two authorities, and that may be in the back of his mind. We'll come back to him in a moment, but Mike James.
Yes, well, we've got to remember where we came from. It wasn't one authority being split in two, it was 7 being amalgamated into 2. So we've made significant savings, and we've reduced massive amounts of layers of management and numbers of managers, and that's what's contributed to the £43 million a year reduction in our cost base to help protect the most vulnerable in our community. It is a very unique opportunity to create a council that doesn't have all the baggage of the previous councils, and we're already working on the next 30 million. And in terms of the shared services, they are important. There are some very good economies of scale, and they are working very well. Some of them are working incredibly well, and we are now starting to talk to other councils, as well as other organisations that my colleagues have mentioned, about how we can use that shared service to provide them services and reduce costs even further for ourselves and for themselves. So it is a very big agenda item, but one clearly that's not quite as important as sorting our own council out, but now we're getting on the way there. We're certainly looking at that in a very active way.
Mr. Harris.
Thank you. I'm delighted to hear that there are some good examples. I'm a little puzzled why we have just a few good examples left over from when nothing was duplicated. Councillor Jones has said that there was massive duplication in the past between the two tiers of the borough councils and the county council. I would question that because they had quite clearly defined and quite separate areas of responsibility. The real duplication has arisen by having to duplicate everything east and west. And it is wonderful to hear that IT was inherited as a unit and there was no sense in splitting it. Why does that not apply, for example, to public rights of way and green spaces, where most of the expert staff with very specialised qualifications have gone east, and the few left in the west are voting with their feet because of the demotivation that has resulted from the split. So I could quote a number of difficult examples. Weaver Valley, Frodsham, Northwich, west, Middlewich, Nantwich, east. Surely it would be cheaper for the Weaver Valley Regeneration Board to work with one council rather than two. So I hope to hear that there will be further good examples in the future where we are joining the services across the two counties. Thank you.
Councillor Manley.
Well, can I just pick up on this?
Yes.
Because there's a direct challenge there. First of all, you talk about west and east. Some of us fought very hard against the split and the way it was done. But at the end of the day, the government makes a decision, and our commitment to you as residents is we'll make the best job of it. So we are where we are, and the fact that we have to split things, frankly, was a decision that was outside our control. There was massive duplication in the back office services between district and county councils. And one of the options the government did say was, I can't remember what it's called, we called it IT, which was, I can't remember where you've got councils to work together more closely. I can't remember what the expression was. They did some pilots.
Partnership work.
What was it called?
It was improved two-tier.
Improved two-tier, ITT, that's right. And they've done some pilots on this, and the results to date are pretty poor. Pretty poor, because it seems very difficult or almost impossible to get councils to work together for some reason. Don't know why. But when you look at HR, IT and finance, we inherited 400 odd people in IT. We're now down to 200 or less than 200, I think it's 180. It's the same in finance, the same in HR. So we've taken out massive savings. In terms of the Weaver Valley, you had 3 different projects there. You had 2 projects in Northwich and Winsford through the district council. You had the county council Weaver Park project, and I think we had other things in Middlewich. What we're doing is bringing them together under one leadership, which actually is far more efficient. And I think the fact that we've got to work with 2 councils, we're actually going to work with 3 because it goes into Warrington as well. And we do have a sub-regional partnership with Warrington and Holton, Cheshire East and Chester to deal with the main economic issues, and we are looking at combining our economic development with not just Cheshire East, but with Warrington and Holton as well. So we are working wherever we can, wherever it's pragmatic and sensible to deliver better value for you, working in partnership with whoever we need to work in partnership with.
Councillor Manley.
Yes, Councillor Jones has just referred to where we're working with on an economic basis, and that shows you how we are cooperating with Warrington and Cheshire East in bringing these things together. So we are not separating things, we are bringing things together in a very collaborative way, working with our partners. And also the one thing that comes under mind is mineral extraction. That is still across the whole of Cheshire, and that is administered as a joint partnership with the people very happily sitting in one of the apartments in my area.
Arthur?
Yeah, thank you. Well, you may not know it, but joined us after the split, Cheshire West and Chester ended up with 10 special schools, and there are 4 in the east. And obviously there are still children who live in what we now know as Cheshire West and Chester, who attend schools in Cheshire East and the converse as well. So we're still having now, you wouldn't expect us to take children who've been located in a particular special form of education and move them to somewhere else which is not suited to them. So we still do have this close, collaboration between the special schools with regard to children.